Hello there everyone, it's really great to see you and I'm really glad to be able to welcome you back up here to the loft to Weir Yard. And today I'm going to be doing another how-to guide along with a review of a product that I've been sent. Now this has come from Warworld Scenics and it's the flower dressing kit. So I've got it here and not really much to show you, just the box, but when we open this up, this is a really vibrant set of different colours. I mean, look at those. And you might be thinking, what use might these have on a model railway? Well, actually, as the title suggests, flowers. Now, if you looked at the wider world, you'll see on places like railway embankments, parks, anywhere where the grass is allowed to get a little bit long, go to seeds and you get the meadow flowers coming through. And what I really want to do is to experiment with these to see what flower effects that I can put together. And I'm really excited to be able to try this because it's something that I've got really into, static grass, and I've prepared my test board. So I've got here, it's quite literally a piece of scrap plywood and I staple gunned some grass mat to it, which I've then gone over the top with a couple of other products. The ProGrass Micro applicator from Warworld Scenics, and they've also sent over the ProGrass Detailer, which I've used to give some subtle changes to the hues and textures of the grass so that it's all not just one monocolour, and you can see there against the light the different patches. But that's given us the perfect test bed to be able to road test this flower dressing kit. So really excited to do this, and today of course comes in association with our channel sponsor Rails of Sheffield, and in particular their Wanted service. This is a service that allows you to trade in unwanted items of locomotives and rolling stock and get the best possible price for them, either for cash or for store credit to put towards something that you really want. It couldn't be simpler. Follow the links down below, and when you do, tell them that Jenny Kirk sent you and you'll get a 10% uplift on your agreed valuation right through until the end of June 2020. So hurry and take advantage today. And also we are in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. But I'm really excited to show you this product. Big thank you to Warworld Scenics for sending this over. Let's get on and take a look. This is the board that I'm going to be using, so you can see here, it's a better view of it. It's just a scrap piece of plywood over which I stretched an offcut of the Gagemaster grass mat, and this is just, it's like a paper roll with what is probably about 1mm static grass already applied. And actually for this it was a great way of very quickly giving me a flat surface with grass on, over which I used Warworld Scenics static grass applicators to build up layers of two different static grasses. So I used summer grass 4mm, and then I also used scorched grass 4mm as well, which you can see in the little patches. And that just gives a slightly different texture, really just to show off what we're going to do. Ignore the little bobbly bits. All that is that they've been stuck in the static grass applicator from a previous job, but I'm not too bothered because that kind of starts us off and gives us an idea of what the flowers will look like. So I'm going to get set up now and I'm going to show you the whole process. This is the Warworld Scenics flower dressing kit. It says there for tufts, but we're going to be using these to go straight onto static grass. And as you can see in the kit, there is quite a wealth of different colours. So I'm going to get all these out, and we also get a little tub here of glue and a small paintbrush. And you may be thinking, well, what's the point in that? But actually it'll all come clear as I do this. So I'm going to have a quick look at what we get here. So this looks to be pretty much the same as some of the other foliage that we've got in perhaps more conventional colours. So you can see there's quite a texture to that, and it's quite a vibrant blue. Ditto for some of the other colours, similar texture, purple, and they're actually, I think that's a little bit finer there with the red. Pink as well, quite a bit finer. Yellow, we're back to the coarser there. And then we've got green, that does seem quite fine. That kind of algae green, I think I do remember from the scenery kit that Warworld Scenics sent over and featured in a previous video. And then we've got, it's actually different shades of pink. So you can see there, we've got, you know, quite a good assortment. And the whole idea of this is I want to be able to make flowers. Now, if you look at the world in general, you'll see that actually grass doesn't tend to just remain bowling green grass. It flowers. Grass is a plant that does flower if you don't cut it. And so on embankments, cutting sides, even in the countryside at large, there's always going to be some large areas of grass that have actually gone kind of to seed, to flower. And what I've done here is, as I showed you before, I have prepared a piece of scrap plywood to be able to demonstrate this to you. I've used this product that Warworld Scenics have sent over, which is the ProGrass Detailer. I'm going to get this out of the box now and just show you this. And what I've done with this is this allows you to get a much more focused static grass application. I've got the slightly bigger head on here. There's also a much smaller head too. If you want to get really tight areas of different coloured grasses, then this is the tool for you. It just takes that 9-volt battery and works in exactly the same way as the other static grass applicator, the Pro Micro. But with these interchangeable heads, you can see there, I've already used it. There's a little bit sort of statically stuck in there. And you can see the slight changes in colour and texture. And they've all been applied using this. So a big thank you to Warworld Scenics for sending this over. It really is a massive boon. And I'm going to look forward to actually applying static grass using that probably in between tracks in the goods yard. So there's several different ways that you can apply the flowers that I've found. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off using the glue and the brush, and this looks to be a kind of scenic basing glue, and I suspect that this is actually the basing glue that comes with the static grass kits. I should ask, but with this you can see we can just, using the brush, just get the very tops of the static grass. And then what I'm going to do is, let's pick a nice vibrant colour. I'm going to go with yellow actually. I've been seeing a lot of yellow plants appearing by the wayside, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on here, try and get that. Don't want too much because actually some of this is going to go walkies once we're happy with it on the glue. So we've got the yellow applied, and I'm just going to tip off the excess, blow it through, and there we have it. It's sticking to the heads of the static grass. Now once that basing glue has dried, you're not going to see those little white marks coming through, and you could almost use this to actually, you know, just a little bit of that, and you could probably write your name in it, something like that, I guess. Not that you'd want to, I don't know why I suggested that. Now I'm going to get some of the purple in. Just, that is a lovely purple actually. I'm really impressed with that. And because I'm lazy and I'm just using a test piece, and there you have purple going into the grass. So you don't really want to segregate them like I'm doing here. I'm just trying to show off a little bit. So One of the things that I'm thinking about doing, I've got my little measuring thing here, and actually mixing up some of these different colours. A little bit of that one out. And thinking back, you know, always think, what have you seen in the real world? And a little bit of the yellow, not too much, don't want it to overpower. And I think red. I've seen a lot of poppies on my travels, so I'm going to say a very tiny amount of red. Reseal that bag, put that over there, and then I'm going to shake these up. A little bit too much purple. I think actually we could have done with a little bit more yellow. So let's go, maybe it's buttercups, something like that. And there we've got a kind of a mix here. And I'm going to bring that grass back in. And let's go with another patch down here. Just getting a dusting on the very tops of that static grass. And of course, the longer the static grass, the easier this is. I think we've got 4 mil on here, so you can get 6 mil, 8 mil, even 12 mil. And what we're going to do is I'm going to now sprinkle a little bit of this. And there, got that slightly more of a mix. Some of this does get sort of stuck into the fibres of the static grass, so it is drying quite quickly under this light, but you can see we're starting to get an effect, and you can experiment with all these different colours and see how it goes. Right, I want to show you a different method. You're probably thinking, yeah, that's going to be a lot of hard work. I've got a huge area to cover. Well, that's where the Warworld Scenics Static Grass Layering Spray comes in. So imagine you've got this huge area here, and what you need to do is go over with the layering spray, and then rather than the actual grass, we can just tap out. You can do it straight from the packets, but what you don't want to do is to end up with too much falling. So you see here, it's a little bit, a suggestion of poppies. The red does work really, really well, I have to say. But because not all plants, let's get some more of the layering spray. Not all plants are exactly the same colour, different species, all sorts going on there. What I'm going to do is just get some pinker ones in. Just cover that area. And you can see the flowers are building up really nicely. That's probably a little bit too much pink. But we're going to just tap off any excess there. You can see it stays put pretty well. And there you have the building up, the different colours. And you can see you can start to kind of create flower effects quite readily with this. But that's not just what you can do. I mean, this has gone a little bit thicker. Too many different colours. You can see, you know, you've got the yellows, the purples, the greens, the reds, the pinks. That's too much. Look at the real world, and what you'll find on embankments is it tends to be colonised by 1 or 2 different colours. So just over here, let's get some of that basting on, and I'm going to try this with a little tiny bit of yellow, just yellow. Just tap. You see how I'm tapping there? Just move this over a little bit. It doesn't have to be too thick. In fact, if anything, less is more. It's easy to put too much on. Now, remember, if you don't think that's enough, you can add more, but you can't easily take that off. You see there, that's really coming off. And if we hold that up to the camera, so you can see it's kind of nestling in there. Really nice plants. And if you get the finer grade of some of these, these are kind of more like your bigger flowers. But if you get, see what have I got here from previous kits, you can also, this is kind of a very fine red powder. So you can get yourself some of this. Let's find a little spot here in the corner. Like that. And then the very fine powder. Now these are great for things like poppies, daisies. Just slap that bag. Very, very subtle. And you can work on highlighting different patches. You see there, it's a much more subtle effect. Now, I want to move on from here now, and I want to show you how to make little flower tufts, and also about making bushes. So in particular, things like maybe hydrangeas, which if you don't know what a hydrangea looks like, go and have a Google search. They're a very vibrant range of colours when they flower. And they're not all the same colour either. Hydrangea's flower colour is governed quite readily by the soil composition. So depending on what's in the soil, you can get a variety of different colours, even if you've planted ostensibly the same family of plants. The colour is not as determined by genes in the plants as it is by the mineral composition in the soil. So for example here, we get a lovely kind of violet to blue colour. But my parents, with exactly the same hydrangeas, in fact ours were just cuttings from theirs range from pinks and reds. So they do vary actually quite enormously. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put that to one side, and I'm going to bring in some bushes. So I've got a few clumps of the clumping foliage. They're not as big as I would have wanted actually. The stuff I've got is smaller than is ideal for this. But what I'm going to use is, again, we're going back to the Static Grass layering spray. And I'm actually going to take hold of these, otherwise they'll just fly off. And I'm going to spray that up, and then I'm actually going to stick it in there and see what effect we can end up getting with the flowers sticking to it. So there we've ended up with a small bush with flowers on it. Let's try another piece, and this time let's go for the purple and see how that looks. Now, as you can see, these are breaking up a little bit. I'm struggling on size of pieces. So I sprayed it with the layering spray and put it into the bag, swoosh it about, and actually I think this purple does work reasonably well. So there we have our small bits of bushes. Once they've dried, which they do really, really quickly, then we've got some sort of flowery bushes that we can plant. Now, the next thing I want to show you is a piece of greaseproof paper that I've got from the kitchen. And what I want to do with this is, with the basing glue, I'm going to make myself some tufts. Now, you can buy these ready-made, but that does work out quite expensive. So I'm going to just work my way along, just making making some blobs. Another row of blobs, I think. Don't really need too big a space. Just so long as they don't join up, I guess. And then we can make some strips as well. So if you want to make flower beds. And for these, I'm going to go back to that mix that I made before. In fact, let's just see how well this works out. So let's just get that all down onto there. If we need more, we can make some more up. So I'm just going to try and get all that to get onto those tufts. Get a little bit more. Let's go actually blue. Let's use some of this blue. It's such a lovely blue. Put a little bit down, a little bit down. And these are perfect for, say, like in a garden. If you want to make some nice effects in a garden alongside the railway line. We've got something here like, things like pansies, fairly low down bits of flowers. So we can leave those to dry and then they'll just peel off the greaseproof paper, and then we can use them, we can stick them down wherever we want them to go. So I'm going to put them to one side. Now I'm going to get, again, some greaseproof paper, and I'll get some basing glue out. And I'm going to make, again, some quite long strips. Let's do a few here. And this, I'm going to do something slightly different. What I want to do with this is actually use that Precision Grass applicator. And what I'm going to do with this is I need to get myself some static grass. So let's just have a look at what I've got in my stash. And I just happen to have here from Warworld Scenics spring grass 2mm. So what I'm going to do, I've already got a battery in there, that's fine. And I'm going to use the smaller attachment on these. You can see here they've got a really small attachment for real, literally for real precision work. And with this, let's just move that out of the way so we don't end up dunking stuff all over it. We're going to put a small amount of the static grass down into here. In fact, I tend to fill these over the bag, just so that if anything falls right through, then it's not going to just end up being eaten by the carpet. Yeah, this can be a bit fiddly, but don't worry about it. Just going to put that much in, put the static grass out of the way, and then let's get that fitted onto the end there. And you don't need a nail for this. Effectively, all you're wanting is some way of the static charge being able to go somewhere. So even just me holding that should be fine. I'm going to turn this on, and then I'm going to apply the layer of static grass to that basing glue. I've actually, you'll find that you go through it quite quickly, so there's not much of a reservoir, so to speak, in there. So let's get back to the bag. Let's get this refilled. Applicator on, and it's quite warm up here, so what we're finding actually is some of that basing glue has kind of dried a little bit quicker than anticipated. So maybe just apply some more. Just trying to build up some strips here. Just get that covered up. And you can actually see the grass standing on end. And that's everything that was in there. So I'm going to put that to one side. And then we've got our tufts here coming together. And what I want to do with these, again, I'm going to tip some of the excess off. And then let's go with pink. Let's just carefully break that up. I don't know what plant this would be. It has pink flowers on green stems. And that basing spray does actually set very, very quickly, so try and tap any excess off. And there, we've got some strips coming together. Again, put that to one side, and I'm going to just leave them to dry. It is quite warm up here, so I can see that they're still a little bit wet there. And I'll leave them just a bit longer. So I've come back to these tufts and I've given them a length of time to dry. So what we can do now, I've got a Stanley knife just to help me out here so I'm not squashing the flowers off the top. You can try and just get underneath and start to separate that from the greaseproof paper. And just peel that back, and anywhere where you can see it's trying to rip, just use the knife, gently work it off. And what we end up with here is effectively a long strip of flowers. Just very carefully get the last bit off. And this I can now use in a garden, something like that. In fact, I'm going to bring back in a grass sheet, and what I'm going to do with this is use a little bit of the Warwald Scene. It's basing glue. Got to be quite careful with this, it does come out ever so quickly. And actually I will use a pair of tweezers just to flatten an area that I'm going to glue this strip. I'm going to just put a little bit of that glue in there. And then I'm going to take this and I can very carefully add my flowers down. And then you just kind of blend that in to the surrounding area. This isn't ideal, I'm doing it over 4mm static grass. But in a kind of neat and tidy garden, you can start to get these strips in. You can also investigate some of the flower kind of clumps. Are these dry yet? And we can kind of pull that little cluster off very carefully. I don't want to shred it apart, you see. It does have a degree of stickiness to it with this basing glue. So you can also use something like PVA. So I've got a tube I've refilled with PVA, and let's find a good spot. Let's hide one of those staples there. So just going to get a little bit of PVA onto there, and then stick in one of those tufts so we can have a small flower tuft just to put wherever we want. Maybe just as random flowers growing at the side of the road, maybe in a garden, some kind of civic display. A little tiny bit of glue there just to stick it in place. It's just down, stick, push. And we can kind of work through all these different colours we've got. Let's go for that blue one. Is that going to come off in one? And you can see you effectively ready-made these little tufts. And this is a much more effective, in terms of cost, way of doing it than buying them ready-made. There's nothing wrong with the ready-made ones. It's just you have a little bit more control here. You can try and get different shapes. You basically can make any shape you want using this method. So conceivably you could actually make your flower beds to fit the location that you have available. So this whole strip, again, we can gently, and that is quite sticky, it's sticking to me, which is a little bit annoying. So let's just work it off. Greaseproof paper, there we go. If you lay the basing glue a bit thicker, it takes longer to dry, but it's a little bit more strength to it. So there we have a long strip. It's actually sticky still. So we can lay these down. That's actually sticking all on its own. And you can make all sorts of different shapes, different colours. Let's pull that off and stick that down using the basing glue itself. Is sticky enough. And once these have dried, they're actually pretty durable. And there we have it. Making your own flower tufts, flower effects for meadow grass. And once the glue is dried, that whiteness disappears. And there you have it. So easy to use the Warworld Scenics flower dressing kits. And really, again, like all of these products, you're just limited by your imagination. This here is an area that I did made it a little bit more disused using the static grass applicator. Really good effect. But now that I've got this flower making kit, what I actually want to do is to kind of give a sense that there's something like poppies coming up through here. So what I want to use is the Warworld Scenics Grass Layering Spray. And this is a great product. I really do like this. And what I'm going to do first, I've got the basics. I used some of the green foliage to give a suggestion of weeds. But what I actually want to do now, grass layering spray, and then I've got the red flowers. I'm with this, I just want to, not too much, just a general suggestion that there's some red flowers going on. Maybe a little bit more down this end. Less is more. And give it another quick blast with layering spray. Actually, I'm going to add a very, very light sprinkle of yellow and do this by hand. A little tiny bit down here. And that's it. Again, less is more. And final fixing in place. And then that's it. It's quite simply a case of the flowers are in, and very, very carefully just clean the rail heads, because the lacquering spray will have coated them. This you need to be ever so careful with, just to make sure that you don't slip, because if you slip into the static grass, you will kind of dig it up in a big long trench, which is exactly what you don't want to do. And see that the lacquering spray does tend to kind of coat the rail tops. So if you're wanting trains to be running through here, which I do, just gotta very carefully make sure that it's cleaned, and that then will allow us to run the trains again. If you use a small track cleaning rubber like this Pico one, what you end up with, you get like a little groove, and that then is perfect to try and help it to follow the track. Of course, if you don't want to be running any trains on the track, if you want like a totally disused area, then you don't need to go through that stage. And there we have that suggestion of flowers going on. With a little bit of practice, these techniques can be taken away, and you can see here on the actual model railway, on the deeper static grass, I've used a combination of the reds and the yellows. I've used the reds as kind of a brushing over of larger areas, and then patches with the yellow. Again, look at the real world, take your inspiration from there. And I've actually taken this inspiration from some of the embankments at the side of the M1 motorway at the moment, where there's kind of this, the red poppies where they've been doing work are coming through en masse. And then here and there, you get these little patches of yellow flowers. I'm not sure what they are, but they do look very distinctive, and they kind of keep together in their own little clumps. Further up the mountain, at the back there, instead of just using the red, I've actually just gone for yellow. And again, a little bit more visual interest and variety. The real world tends not to be massively neat. So with these techniques, you can experiment and get your ground cover looking really something special. Well, it was really great actually, and I'm pleased to be able to show you the effects that you can create with this. And I'm sure you'll agree that actually, whilst they come out of the box in what is some really quite vibrant colours, when they get used correctly on a layout, they really do add to a scene, and they bring that wild grass alive. You can also use these for more ornamental type gardens, as we showed in the video. So there's a lot of scope to do not only those wild, unkempt embankments and hillsides, but also have some fun. If you've got things like terraced houses alongside your railway line, have a go and see what you can do with the gardens. Really, you are limited only by your imagination. But a big thank you to Warworld Scenics for sending these products over. And also don't forget to check out today's sponsors, Rails of Sheffield, and use that code Jenny Kirk sent me for an additional 10% if you're going to be trading in. And if you really enjoyed this, don't forget to check them out at the website listing down below, and you'll be able to find all of the products mentioned or used in today's video. But without further ado, don't forget to like this video, share it too, and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. But until next time, you stay safe, keep looking after yourself, and I really do look forward to seeing you again, either on the Monday Club, which of course every single Monday from 7 o'clock UK time, and come and chat about trains and sundry, and talk about news, models, progress on Weyard, and just hang out with lots of like-minded individuals in the community. It's great fun. Everybody is invited. And also we've got regular videos going up on Wednesdays and Fridays as well. But without further ado, look, you just take really great care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next time. So it's me, Jenny Kirk, saying take care. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Alan, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Judge Mortis, Gary Lewis, and David Quinn. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.